This is the plaintiff, Tawana Frazier. She says she takes church groups on outings twice a year and has used the defendant's bus company for more than 4 years. Well, the night before the trip was scheduled to leave, the defendant informed her he wasn't able to make it, and another guy with a bus would be there to take them. Everyone assembled at the meeting place at 7:45 a.m., and the bus never showed. She started crying right on the spot. The trip was canceled. She's out all sorts of money and is 100% sure it's the defendant's fault. So she's suing for $1,940, the amount she's due. This is the defendant, William Wilson. He says the plaintiff called him at the last minute needing a bus, but was totally ambiguous about locking in a date or the size of the bus needed. He went out of his way for this lady, and when he did finally get a bus company for her, she got the driver of that bus so angry he refused the job. Whatever happened with that other bus company is not his business, and he owes the plaintiff nothing. He's accused of not being a holy roller.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff takes church groups on outings and hired the defendant. It was a disaster. The bus was a no-show, but the defendant says the plaintiff called last minute and was sketchy as to when and where. It's the case of You Drive Me Crazy.
Thank you, Douglas. Tawana Frazier. You are suing William Wilson and his bus service. You've asked us not to mention the service's name, the name of the company, and I will respect that. You're the owner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For $1,940, $840 in theater tickets that were lost because he did not provide the bus service, and $300 the profit of theater tickets, and the rest in pain and suffering and other costs that you say you incurred because he breached a contract with you. Tell me what happened.
My relationship with Mr. Wilson began back in about 2009. I met him because he was referred to me by another church friend. And we started taking trips with him. I believe our first trip was in 2010, March of 2010. And we've used Mr. Wilson since 2010, twice a year for our fundraising events.
Okay, and your fundraising events are fundraising for whom?
The church.
Okay, for the church that you belong to. And so what you do is you put together these bus trips to places that you can get to by bus that are close.
Yes.
And then plan a day of it?
Yes.
Like, for example, you planned a day of this one. What was this one supposed to be?
This included the round trip, transportation with the charter, the theater tickets.
To where?
The tickets.
Round trip to where?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania, for the Sight and Sound Theater.
Okay.
And this show was Jonah.
And it was costing how much per person?
$135.
Okay, go on.
Okay. So I contracted Bill for the August 4th trip in February of 2012. And his policy is he sends a contract by email. I sign the contract and mail it back to him. 30 days before the date, 30 days or before, he gets a $300 deposit, and then we pay in full before he pulls off. When we board, we pay the rest of the money, the balance that's due. In April, I went to South Carolina. I was there due to a death in the family for the entire month. He contacted me in April. We spoke by phone. I explained to him. He asked me about the date. He said that he had the date penciled in, and I said, yes, I still want the date. I said, I'm sorry, I'm here in South Carolina. I would have already sent the contract back by now, but, my mother's sister died very suddenly. He was very sympathetic because me and Bill have known each other for 4 years now, twice a year.
So how long before the date was he asking you to send the contract?
This was April.
And the date of the event was
August.
That's 4 months earlier. So after you left, why didn't you send a contract?
I did send the contract from South Carolina.
Oh, you did? And
I did.
So you signed it?
Yes, I signed it.
Is there a signed contract?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any proof? He says he never got a contract from you, that was the problem. You sent it how?
I sent it by mail.
Okay, and according to you, you never got a contract?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you actually ask for a contract and tell her you need to get organized and you need to...
That's my policy.
According to you, he receives the contract and he's lying?
Yes.
Okay. And what ends up happening? And you know that because you talked to him many times on the phone.
Many times, and I have my phone records.
Yeah, let me see your phone
text message.
Did you mark the times you talked to him?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, according to you, the times you talked to her was about contracting, not
about the day, because I told her I can no longer hold a bus on a person's word in a busy season, because I had too many people the night before the event. Oh, I can't fill the bus. I can't use it. And now my bus.
And then you don't get paid, right?
And she never received. She sent me. She said she sent me, but I never received a contract or a deposit for that day, so I can't hold.
Oh, well, show me the deposit.
I did not give him a deposit.
Isn't that what the contract says? That you say you sent in?
Because that's how he looked at it. It's don't worry about the deposit, because I was willing to have the church send the check.
Okay, show me a copy of the contract that you mailed him that's signed.
I don't. I mailed it to him.
And so you didn't keep a copy?
No, I don't. I didn't.
What ended up happening that day, sweetheart? Because it was awful.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Let's talk about the day before first.
The day before.
Well, hold on. In your complaint, you actually say he calls you a week before and says, "What's up?" Because I haven't heard from
on the Monday. We had spoken several times, because in June I called him about 2 additional contracts, 2 other events. Yes, that we were going to do together, and. Even in those times, he was like, okay, but the August 4th date, yes, Bill, don't play. Yes. And he's, okay, no, I got you. It's on the calendar. I'm just making sure that you still want that. Yes, Bill, we're still going to Pennsylvania. Okay, so.
Did that conversation happen?
The plaintiff organized bus tours for church groups, and the one with the defendant's bus company was a disaster. The bus was a no-show, but the arrangement seemed very loosey-goosey. Let's listen.
That conversation happened, but she left me in such a confused, ambiguous state that I'm informing her I need to know what's going on. And
did you specifically say, hey, I don't have a contract. Why don't you send a contract in because you don't have a bus? No.
And
in that conversation you said that?
And a deposit.
So now I have a specific question. Now it's the day before, and what happens?
Now it's Friday, Thursday or Friday, the day before, and my cell phone rings. Hello.
At what time?
About 3 in the afternoon, 2-ish, in the middle of the afternoon. My cell phone rings. Hello. Hi, may I speak with Tawana Frazier? This is she. How can I help you? Hi, this is Joe Johnson. Okay. He says, are you going to Sight and Sound? You going to Pennsylvania tomorrow? Yes. Saturday? I said, yes, I am. He says, okay, Bill told me to give you a call. I said, okay. Well, I don't understand why you're calling me. So let me hang up with you and call Bill and find out why you're calling me about our trip to Pennsylvania. So he said, okay. I hung up. I called.
Hold on. Before you hung up, what else did you say?
I'll call you back.
Right.
So I called Bill, and, he answered, and he said, oh, sis, I overbooked. I have a trip going to Georgia. This is a new driver, and it's a long trip. It's a 2-day trip. We need 2 drivers. And so, Joe is going to take you guys. I said, Bill, we don't know Joe. Who's Joe? We don't know Joe, Bill. We've been going up and down the road with you for years. So he says, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. I said, okay, well, what about your money? You want me to give Joe Johnson your money? If you want me to meet you today, I can meet you and give you the money. He says, no. Give him my money. He'll give me every penny. Don't worry about it.
Tell me your take on that conversation. What do you say took place?
So now I'm in Augusta, Georgia.
When she calls?
When she calls me. Because she's not sure. She's calling me the night before her trip. And I said, you know what? This is where my compassion came in. And I contacted a fella who I network with. He has a bus. And just so happened his trip was canceled for that Saturday.
Okay,
and I
but hold on,
Joe.
because she says
yes, ma'am.
that the first thing that happened was that Joe called.
No, ma'am. Her and I already talked. And
how many times did you talk on Friday?
We conversed back and forth.
So there should be a minimum 2 conversations on the Friday.
It was more than that, because she got very
How many phone records from the Friday?
And it was more than that.
There's 4 conversations on Friday, not 1.
If you look at the minutes of
what I really want to look at is a contract. Let's talk about this a little bit further. So then what happens is you talk to him. According to you, he tells you Joe's the best. You hang up, and do you call Joe back?
I'm sorry, I left this out. I tell him, okay, so we're good. I'm going to call Joe. I'll just call Joe back, because I told him I was going to call him back. He says, no, you don't need to call Joe. I already gave him all of your information. He knows what time.
You know you need to call Joe because you told Joe you'd call him back.
Yes.
So did you call Joe back?
At night. Not immediately. I called Joe back that night.
What time at night?
Probably about 9, before I went to bed, before 10.
It's 2 minutes, so did you leave a message or did you talk to him?
I left a message. I
You
said,
left a message.
"Hi, Joe, this is Tawana. We spoke earlier this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in the morning. I'll be there by 7:50.
It's 10 o'clock at night. I know I said I'd call you back, but I
didn't
can't wait
say
to see you in 8
because
hours.
I trusted what Bill told me. Bill implied that Joe
Can I ask you a
worked for
question?
him.
If you'd called him back, we might not be here, right? The trip might have happened. Because if you'd done that, then maybe at 7 in the morning, when there's how many people standing at a bus stop?
25.
25 people standing at a bus stop waiting to have their wonderful day that they've paid you for. What happened? There was no bus.
Yes.
Right? Tell me about that. What was it like to have no bus out there and everyone looking at you and asking, how did you mess this up?
It was horrible.
Sure.
I was crying.
Yeah.
Everyone was very upset. We waited for hours.
Now, on that morning when there was no bus, did you call Joe?
I did. I called Joe a little after 8. And, "Hi, it's Tawana. I'm already here. People are here. Do you know your estimated time of arrival?"
And Joe says to you,
Joe says to me, "You didn't call me back yesterday." I said, "I know." I said, "Bill told me that I didn't need to call you back. He had given you all of the information." "Yeah, you want to keep, I don't work for Bill. You want to keep talking to Bill, you keep talking to Bill," and hung up the phone.
okay, now Joe tells you what?
Who's primarily responsible for nailing down the specifics of where and when? The customer or the driver?
Well, the customer, of course, they're the one who needs the bus.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, I kind of get your point there. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the customer. He should follow up. You know, he's all responsible for it.
Anybody think the business? Huh?
Sure, I blame the business.
Why?
I'm just devil's advocate.
How
So,
about this? They're the ones that make the profit.
oh yeah, they're the making the money.
Good point. Huh, good point. Going inside the courtroom.
She never called me back, and every time she calls me, she telling me about you, and I don't work for you. You don't. And I said, Joe, you're right. And I was
Because Joe felt that she was what? Impolite to him?
very because
Because she was insisting on you and was surprised by his existence.
And I would call her back and I said, we're two separate entities. Stop mentioning me. He's going to do everything for you. Take care of you and him. Remove me out the picture now because I'm in Augusta, Georgia. And I went out the way
So
to
you
find
deny
you.
that you told her, I'll take full responsibility to
Yes,
set everything
ma'am.
up for you from Augusta.
Of course.
Especially if she's giving Joe all the money and you're not seeing a penny from it.
I'm not making nothing off of this. I'm going out the way.
Check, please. Let me just tell you something.
May I please say
No, you may not. As I see it, this is what this case is about. You have to prove to me, and you have the burden as a plaintiff of doing that, by a preponderance of the evidence. That means that it's more likely than not that you had a contract with him where this man needed to show up. Okay? That's what you have to prove to me. You do not have a copy of a signed contract back from him. You do not have proof that you mailed him a contract, which you could do if you had scanned and emailed it and sent it through or faxed it or anything else. You do not have proof that you sent a deposit because you admit you didn't send a deposit. And you admit that you told the new bus driver that you would call him back and you didn't. You admit that you probably should have because you showed me how you did at 11 or 10 at night. And I got a bus driver who thinks you were kind of impolite to him. Said, hey, you want Bill so bad? Have Bill. And that didn't feel like getting involved with you because of the way you handled it.
Your Honor.
You're out of gas. You're out of
Why?
gas. You cannot prove a legal obligation on his part to have either been there or made arrangements for someone else to be there on what you're saying. It is just as likely that it is exactly as he explains, which is he was trying to help you the day before, given the multiple phone calls the day before. I find in favor of the defendant in this case. I'm sorry.
The plaintiff, unable to prove her claim here in court, has lost his case. Come on out here. What's your reaction to the verdict against you?
I'm saddened by the verdict because this was a fundraiser for the church, and Mr. Wilson and the church, us, we had a very good relationship. He lied a lot for someone who's running a Christian bus service, and I cannot believe that he stood there and told those lies. I had no reason to think that he would shaft me or
Will
the
you
church.
still do these bus trips? You still
Oh, yes. Not
the
with him.
organizer? Okay. All right. Right down this
Thank
way. Okay. All right, ladies. All right. Come on in here. Tell me how you feel about the way this thing came out.
Actually, I'm not happy at all because we both named the name of Jesus, and the foundation was Christ, and the truth needs no defense. And when the lie come up against the truth, as she claims I did, you see that the truth still superseded and prevailed.
Business-wise, how is your way of doing business going to change as a result of all that?
I have to have a contract, a signed return contract.
You realize email is good enough?
Yes, but I still prefer a paper trail that for my own records.
Email is paper trail.
I do the email.
Harvey?
Here's the deal. You can't rely on the business to make decisions for you on the when and the where and the whatnot, because you are the one who wants the service. You should take responsibility and make sure every specific is nailed down. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way to the courtroom right now.